I am California of the past.
I am California of the past.
I
am California of the past.
My name is Noel Folsom, and while I'm an old Alamedan, some people might not consider me so because I was born in Peralta Hospital in Oakland, December 4th, 1932. And it was auspicious because it snowed that day. I don't know whether that was a good omen or a bad one, but I've had a happy life and a very good career. My first memories of Alameda, I think, were when my parents would take me down to what is the old Naval Air Station, and I would go wading on the marvelous beach there. I remember the water being warm, and the beach sloped very nicely, and it was sandy. And sometimes when we were through, if we knew that the China Clipper was taking off, we'd go over to the estuary side, and we'd watch the China Clipper take off. There would be a lot of people that would see friends off, and it was quite a big deal. In those days, it was a marvelous plane to watch take off. When we moved to St. Charles Street, we were about 4 or 5 houses from Central Avenue. And at that time, the red trains ran along Central Avenue to Encinal to Fernside Boulevard, and then over the bridge through Oakland and down to the ferry boats to go to San Francisco. One way we would initiate new people into the neighborhood was we would show them flat pennies that we had flattened with the trains. And this was kind of mean to do, but we said, if you want to join the group, you have to have a flat penny with the rest of us. So we told them, put the penny out on the track, and when the train goes over it, you run out as quick as you can and pick it up. Well, of course, they got burned because the compression of the copper heated the penny. Not red hot, but you did get an uncomfortable burn. And with that, you became a member of the gang. On the morning of December 7th, 1941, my father and I were working out in the front yard, and sometime around 10 o'clock or shortly thereafter, my mother came running out of the house and said that the Japanese had bombed Pearl Harbor. So we all went in and listened to the radio, and they had said they were asking everybody in uniform to get back to their base as quickly as they could. So my father and I hopped in the car, and we went along Santa Clara and picked up sailors. I think we picked up 3 or 4 sailors and took them down to the base, and we did that for a while. I don't know how many sailors we picked up, so they didn't have to take the bus, but we did take them down to the base and thought, well, we're getting started here helping with the war effort. Because here on the West Coast, everybody thought we were going to be bombed by the Japanese. And we did have blackouts and air raid warnings probably for the next 4 or 5 months. We had an air raid siren directly across the street on the top of a telephone pole. And when that would go off, it would make a hell of a racket. But I got so that I could sleep through it. And it didn't bother me. I should talk about the air raid wardens that came out of the woodwork, shall we say, right after the bombing, because it seemed to my parents and to me too that the people that volunteered were probably the nosiest people in the neighborhood, because it gave them entree to the neighbors' houses, and they could look around inside, and it was really rather humorous when you think about it. Also, during the war, my mother served in the Gray Ladies. I had two wonderful friends, Douglas and Rick Rosefield, whose father had the peanut butter factory, Skippy Peanut Butter, on Webster Street. And Mrs. Rosefield and my mother and Mrs. Rosefield's sister would go out to Oak Knoll once a week. They'd be transported out there by the Red Cross and do crafts with the men. And I remember my mother serving in the burn ward. Nobody else wanted to do that because some of these poor guys were really horribly disfigured. But she enjoyed it because she would work with the same people much longer than the other ladies would, and she could see the marvelous changes that they did with the plastic surgery. Summarizing those days, even with the war, growing up in Alameda was a fantastic experience, and I hope those that view this enjoy my experience. Thank you.